Hello and welcome. My name is Nathan, and today I've put together a yin class. It's going to be targeted through the full body today. We're specifically going to feel it in the glutes and the hips, so if you've been doing a lot of running or walking lately, you're probably going to feel this a little bit more than others. With that in mind, you won't need too many props or anything in particular for this class, although if you have a bolster or a couple of pillows or something along those lines, it may help you feel a little bit more comfortable in a couple of the shapes. So to begin with, we'll start with a bit of a meditation. Whatever's happened in your day so far, I want you to just give yourself a few moments, take a few breaths. So perhaps elevating yourself through the hips, grounding down through the sit bones, just closing down through the eyes. And we're just going to melt into our seat here. Whatever's gone on in your day, just allow it to melt away. For the next 60 minutes, I want you to just be completely in this space. Give yourself full permission. There's nowhere you need to be. There's nothing else you need to be doing. Finding a sense of ease, a sense of stillness in the body. Noticing the feeling of the spine as it stacks on top of itself, right down from the tailbone all the way up into the head. Gently scanning through the body, just seeing how things are feeling. If you're feeling tired, or if your body is feeling sore, maybe things are feeling a little tight today, just taking all of those things in and letting them rest. And take a longer inhale and a clearing breath out. So just emptying out the lungs through the nose, drawing in a deep breath through the nose, opening the mouth and sighing it out. Feeling the weight of the shoulders melt down either side of you as you do that. And do one more. So emptying out through the nostrils, breathing in deeply through the nostrils. Open the mouth, let it out. From here, gently cracking the eyes open, and we'll start to make our way into our first shape. So the first shape we're going to come into today is going to be a forward fold. Now forward folds sometimes feel a little bit difficult in my body, so if you're the same, just bear with me, because there is a purpose to them. So extending the legs long, finding a nice long spine here. If you're a little bit like me and you feel a little bit of a rounding through the spine, if you have anything to elevate the hips on, maybe folding over the mat a couple of times, maybe sitting on that block if you have one, or a cushion, just elevating the hips a little bit, it may help you to feel a little bit more stable in the shape. From here we're going to slowly mount the torso forwards. If you've got a bolster or something of this sort, you may be able to lean into it, you may be able to use it to help hold the head. The idea is we're just mounting into this forward fold without forcing ourselves in here. I don't want you to feel like you need to grab the feet or the legs to pull yourself in. Even if your forward fold allows you to move forward just the smallest amount, that's perfectly cool. I want you to just stay there and feel into this shape. If you're starting to feel a lot more of the stretch through the backs of the knees, or the backs of the knees are a little bit sore, I want you to bring a gentle bend to the knees. If that's really, really uncomfortable, then I want you to slowly draw the feet together so you're really targeting into the back body itself. And wherever you are, I just want you to find stillness in the breath. Stillness in the body. And really start to accept the shape. Finding a sense of ease here if you can. Letting go of effort. The toes start to get a little tingly. We need to send the breath all the way down through the soles of the feet. Imagine that you're breathing through your feet and right up the backs of the legs. Through the glutes and into the lower back. Slowly but surely starting to feel a little bit more space here, a little bit more length. I'm going to be here for 4 more breaths. And on your next slow inhale, starting to walk the hands back towards the body, straightening up through the spine. Give yourself a moment or two here when we arrive at the top. And from here, gently moving any props you may have used out of your way. Flattening out the mat if you folded it over. From here we're going to come to lying down on our backs and just soak in this first shape. And if when you lie here you feel like the lower back is tight and tingly, bring the soles of the feet to the mat with the knees bent, or even draw the soles of the feet together with the knees either side. Allowing everything to reset and settle in the body. Taking a longer inhale and exhale. We'll slowly roll onto one side. Take a couple of breaths here. We're going to press ourselves back up onto all fours. It's coming onto hands and knees. The palms of the hands will find themselves under the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips, and we're going to come through a few rounds of cat-cow to continue opening up through the back line of the body before we go a little bit deeper. So on an inhale, you're going to drop the belly and lift up the chin. On an exhale, rounding through the spine, just pressing into the hands, tucking the tail. Inhaling, the belly drops, chin rises. Exhaling, rounding. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhale. Exhale. From here, flattening out through the back, we're going to come into a dragon posture, or a sort of a low lunge. So in doing that, I want you to bring your right foot, place it on the outside of your right hand, and either staying here or perhaps finding a little bit more space by walking that back leg back, so your left leg back to the further towards the back of the mat. Maybe that allows you to feel a little bit more comfortable here. If not, just bring that knee forward again. From here, I want you to take your time setting yourself up. So maybe your foot might feel, or your hip anatomy might allow you to feel more comfortable when you move that right foot away from you towards the right. Maybe you just want to point the foot out on a 45-degree angle. Just seeing if this gives you a little bit more space here. You can rock the hips side to side to feel that opening. And from here, we're going to be here for a minute or so. So you can either stay with the palms of the hands if you've got plenty of space. Maybe you can drop down to the elbows. If you've got props like blocks or a bolster, maybe you can bring that bolster out in front of you and mount the elbows down onto that bolster. Just taking a few moments, and once you set yourself up, I just want you to find some stillness in this shape. It's going to be quite an intense opening. So I want you to be very caring to your body if things are feeling a little bit overwhelming, if you feel like you've gone deeper than your body is inviting you to go. And maybe just start to ease out. Take some breaths there. Really sending breaths to all those areas of deepest sensation. If things are feeling tight or they feel like they're building heat, I want you to take a couple of extra special breaths into those areas. It might be the glutes, the outer hip, it might be the thigh of the right leg. You can always take a deep inhale and clear it out the mouth. That makes things feel a little bit easier. I'm going to be here for 3 more breaths. As you next inhale, I'm going to gently come back to the palms of the hands if you're not there already. And with this right foot, we're going to move it all the way over, walking it all the way to the left-hand side of your mat, sitting up for a pigeon pose or a sleeping swan. So we're going to adjust that right foot. It may want to come further, closer towards that left hip. Maybe you're adjusting this back leg a little more to allow the hips to drop lower to the ground, feeling a little bit more stable. If you feel a little bit of a gap underneath your right glute, if you have a block or a cushion or something to prop under there, it can feel really nice to feel supported in this shape so you're not rocking and rolling around. From here, again, you can stay up on the forearms if you feel this is enough of a stretch. If you've got a little bit more space here, it can feel really nice to melt down onto the elbows or right down onto your mat. Again, just breathing slowly and steadily. The mind starts to drift off, wander around, or maybe it starts to speed up. Just check in with how your body is feeling. If it's feeling like you've gone a little bit too deep, then just ease out. If it feels like you're just getting distracted, if you're not feeling too much especially, I want you to take a couple of really, really conscious breaths, paying attention to every little part of the breath. Noticing the nostril hairs as they move on an inhale. Noticing the pausing at the top of the breath before the exhale. Taking 3 more breaths here. And when you're ready, you gently press back into the hands. You can tuck the toes underneath you and slide that right leg back. You can do a few different things here to find your release through the body. Maybe pressing up into a downward facing dog, pedaling out the backs of the legs. Finding a little bit of space there, maybe that right leg comes back behind you. When things feel settled, you can drop down into a child's pose. Or if you're more comfortable, you can come to lying on your bellies. Breathing in here and out. When you're ready, we're slowly going to press ourselves back up onto all fours. When you arrive there, if you feel the body needs any movements to stretch things out, maybe knocking the hips side to side, maybe rolling the head out, finding some space and some freedom in the body here before coming onto the other side. So if the body's feeling good, I want you to bring your left foot this time up outside of the left hand. If you're wanting to adjust that right knee, you can do that maybe closer or further away. If the right knee is really feeling tender, you can double over the mat and just melt it into that nice cushioned area. I'm on carpet, so it's nice and soft for me. From here, if you need to adjust that left foot away from you, maybe walking it out, maybe pointing the toes on a 45-degree angle, just finding a nice comfortable spot for yourself, adjusting through the hips, maybe taking some gentle rocks side to side. If things are feeling good, from here you may want to stay on the hands, you may want to melt down onto the elbows, or you may want to bolster out in front of you. And just bring the elbows into the bolster. And to arrive there, scanning through the body, if things don't quite feel right after a couple of breaths, I want you to adjust, making sure that you're comfortable. Again, at any moment, if things start to feel too much, or like you've been here too long, things are getting a little bit sore, painful. I don't want you to feel any pain. I'd rather you ease out, hold a less deep version of the posture. Continue to breathe and allowing that opening to take place. Take 3 more slow breaths here. And when you're ready, moving any of those props out of the way. The palms of the hands can come back down to the mat. In your own time, walking that left foot all the way over to the right hand side of the mat, and maybe the foot comes closer towards that right hip. And walking that back leg back, allowing the hips to drop a little closer to the mat. Taking your time to get yourself set up here. Maybe staying on the palms of the hands if that feels more comfortable, or melting down to the elbows, or melting the torso right to the mat. Again, taking your time to get yourself set up here. And when you're comfortable, closing down through the eyes and really checking in how this feels in the body. And take 4 more breaths here. On your next inhale, gently starting to press back into the hands. Giving yourself a moment when you get to the top. And you have the option here of tucking the back toes, sliding that left leg back to meet the right, pedaling things out, finding some space. Or just dropping back into a child's pose if that allows you to find a nice stretch through the body. Extend that left leg if that feels good. When things feel a little bit more neutral, melting down either into a child's pose or onto the belly. Taking a longer inhale and exhale. On another inhale, I want you to gently start to press back into the hands. I'm going to come up onto the elbows momentarily. Finding a little bit of a back bend here. When you're ready, we're going to press up onto hands and knees once again, setting ourselves up for a thread the needle or a bow tie. So we're going to do this just on one side at a time. And to come into it, there's a couple of options once we're in there to adjust yourselves. So maybe just watching first and then making your way in when you're ready. So the first option is we'll breathe the right arm up. And we'll thread it all the way through, and we're melting down onto the shoulder head, and maybe the forehead can just melt onto the ground. Maybe you're finding a nice stretch there through the shoulders. If you're not and you're wanting to adjust, maybe melting that shoulder down to the ground, starting to walk the legs back and lie down completely onto the belly, finding a little bit more of an opening through that shoulder joint. You may need to adjust the arm slightly. The idea is that your head can come to the ground. If you need to make up the distance with your other arm, just bring both arms there. If the stretch through the shoulder is feeling a little bit intense, you can just come back onto the knees once again. Nice deep inhale and exhale. And when you're ready, we're going to slowly slide that arm out from underneath you. So whatever shape you're in, if you're down on the belly, just sliding the arm out and come back down to lying on your tummy. If you have up on the knees, you can slide that arm out, maybe extending it long, and then come down to rebounding on your belly. Allowing a few breaths to swirl around that shoulder joint, creating a little bit more space, a little bit more stillness after that deep stretch. Breathing in here, breathing out. From here we're going to make our way onto the other side. And if you are on the belly, on the first side, maybe you just want to slip that left arm underneath you, melting down onto that shoulder. Or maybe you're wanting to come back onto hands and knees. Breathing that left arm up, threading it through, melting the shoulder down. And either staying up on the knees if that feels like a good stretch, or start to walk the legs down, melting everything onto the ground. Really feeling this stretch deepen. And take 2 more long inhales and exhales. And when you're ready, if you're on the belly, just sliding that left arm out from underneath you, melting down. If you're on the knees, that arm can come out and up, stretching things out before also coming down onto the belly. And just resting here. Breath in here, breath out. Your own time, we're going to roll over onto our backs. And from lying on our backs, just quickly scanning through the body, seeing how things are feeling. From here we're going to draw both knees in towards the chest. And just drawing them in towards you. Maybe taking some movement here, rocking, rolling, massaging out the lower back. You're just going to find a gentle spinal twist. And do that by dropping both knees over towards the left-hand side. Allowing both shoulders to melt down into the mat, maybe extending that right arm away from you, helping draw those shoulders down. Taking 3 more breaths here. And with the help of your hand, drawing the knees back to center. Maybe giving them a hug in towards the chest, rolling things out. And when you feel ready, we're going to mount them over towards the right. If they don't quite touch the ground, just sliding a bolster or a pillow or a block underneath them. And once again, you can extend both arms out either side of you if you've got the space. Just helping mount both shoulders in towards the ground. Three more breaths. And when you're ready, with the help of the hands, drawing the knees back to center once again. Maybe giving them a hug and taking any movement here that feels needed. If it feels good, maybe drawing the forehead towards the knees, stretching right through the spine. If you need to take any other movements here, maybe coming into a happy baby, grabbing the outside of the soles of the feet, drawing down the knees either side of you. Feeling the full length of the spine against the mat, right down to the tailbone. If everything is feeling ready, I want you to make your way into your final shape. So extending both legs long. If it feels comfy and you've got a bolster or a pillow handy, sliding it underneath the backs of the knees can feel really nice, taking any pressure off the lower back. Once you've set yourself up, I want you to close down through the eyes. Really find some slow, steady breaths here. All of the work is done. Just melting into your body, fully soaking up the shapes that your body has just been through. Starting to draw in a longer inhale. Noticing the gentle rising and falling of the chest. Becoming more aware of the physical body with very small movements through the fingers and the toes. Starting to roll through the wrists and the ankles. You may want to take the arms up overhead, stretching through the full body. And the eyes still closed. Just roll onto one side. And take some breaths here. And on an inhale, gently pressing into the hands and making your way up to a seated position, finding a nice tall spine, feeling grounded down through the sit bones once again. I'm going to close this practice with one nice deep clearing breath. So once again, emptying out the lungs through the nose, drawing in a nice deep inhale through the nose, opening the mouth and sighing it all out. Draw the palms of the hands together in front of the heart, an acknowledgement for yourselves, the time you've set aside in your day, just to give back to your bodies, give back to your mind, find a little space. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.